Okay, so just one tiny little design thing before we go on in, what was it? I think it was in bullet. Yeah, you know how I'm calling this step size and this step size. That seems a little funny. You know, if I come back in the future and look at that, I might say, why do I have two things named the same thing? So I'm going to change this from step size to default step size. That just makes it kind of a little bit clearer. How do I do it? Okay, so I'm going to do a replace of step size with default step size. And I'm going to do a replace all like that. So this kind of just makes more sense. This will remind me, oh, okay, this is what I want as my default. But whatever's in step size. So if I don't give a step size to the bullet, then it's going to have this as the step size. And there's one other thing I think I want to do too, just to make things clearer, is copy this. So an important thing to remember whenever you're writing code is that you're not just writing for the computer, you're also writing for whoever needs to read your code in the future, including you, because you might forget what you were doing. So I'm going to stick this is out of bounds in here because really I want this associated with the shooter bullet. And then what I'm going to do in here is declare this abstract because I want this to be an abstract class. So let me explain that a little bit. I'm going to put a semicolon right here. I'm going to call this abstract. Okay. Now this isn't going to quite compile. Let me just show you. I don't think. Let's see. Yeah. Because what you need to do is also, if you have an abstract method, you have to declare the class abstract. So what this means is that I can't put a bullet object into, oh, this is default step size now, right? Oh, and this should be actually, this should be step size now, right? So let's see. I'm gonna, so I changed step size to default step size, but actually I'm kind of glad I did that because I don't want to use ever use default step size anyplace else. In fact, why don't I make that private? And then what I'll do is I'll put in public methods for getting and setting the step size. So if I say public int get step size, then I can return the step size. And let's do a setter also. Public void set step size to step size, and that just says this dot step size equals step size. Okay, so now my subclasses or really other objects can get the step size or set the step size. So let's go now. So let's look again where we couldn't compile. So here I'm going to say get step size. So this way I'll get the actual step size, the step size that got passed in here. Okay, and let's see, do I have to do that for shooter bullet too? Yep, sure do. So let's say less than get step size. All right, so now let's make sure, and I did change my images with preview, so we should be able to, yeah, now we're looking good. Okay, cool. So now, so next thing we got to do, oh, these aren't disappearing though. What happened to my out of range thing? Let's see. So the shooter bullet is out of bounds when y is less than the step size. Okay, and it says if it's out of bounds, remove it. So what's happening with the y of my shooter bullet? It's not getting that small. Oh yeah, the step size is now a negative number, isn't it? That's right. We changed the step size to be -5, and before I was checking to see if it was less than 5. Why don't we do this? There's a way to get the absolute value of a number, and basically that means if the number is negative, like a -3 becomes 3, or a 3 stays 3. So basically, if you think of the number line going, negative this way and positive this way, the absolute value is the distance from 0. So if you're 3 steps away in the negative direction, it's still 3 steps. Or if you're 3 steps away in the positive direction. So if we do that with get step size, and let's look that up. So that's math. Java library documentation. That's a math, part of the math class. So let's see. Math. And notice that's the class math is in the java.lang package. So we're not going to have to do any imports for that. And there's this thing right here, abs, and you can pass it. So ABS is short for absolute value. You can pass it a double, you can pass it a float, you can pass it an int, a long. Okay, so we're going to want to pass it an int. And notice it's a public static. So we're going to have to say math.abs and then pass it the int that we want. And that was in shooter bullet. So we're going to say if it's less than math abs, the absolute value of the size. Compile. Okay. And now, yeah, now they're disappearing again. So we did, it took us some work to get back to where we were, right? But the reason that you do stuff like this is to, like I said, make your code easier to read for other people, for you later on when you come back to it. If you haven't looked at it in a while, you can forget what you were doing. And also to make it easier to make future changes. There's when we get to where we want stuff to happen, like when we get hit. So we have a couple of things to work on. We have to figure out what happens when this guy gets hit by a bullet, and we have to be able to move the aliens down and stuff like that. But we got a pretty good start. It's probably going to be a while before I can make any more of these videos, but but you have the basics for a game, and hopefully you'll be able to maybe try and extend this a little bit. If not, I'll be adding some more videos on this in the fall.